Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode here at Tribal Trades, the daily show coming at you from the great state of Florida. One hell of a drug. And I do want to welcome you to the channel wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about the dip. It just keeps dipping. What is going on? What's next? What are some of the questions and answers and thoughts and what is going on? We're going to talk about all that and more in just a moment. Before we do that, of course, smash the like button. This does help get this channel out to more people and does help support the channel. Of course, love all the wonderful comments that you leave behind. You take the time to write them. I take the time to read them. Thank you so much for that. And all the questions that gets answered there, I do get back to those as soon as I am able to. So you would need to be patient there. Emphasis on as soon as I am able to. And of course, if you want to access the most amazing people on the planet in the Stocks with Josh Discord, that is linked below in the description of this video. You might be able to you might have to click the more button and it will pop down the description, and there you can ask me questions. I am in the crypto channel there daily, interacting with such a wonderful community. There's also the meme coin chat, the aka party zone, and I have my own crypto channel in there as well, my own Crowned Traders channel where I share education, analysis. I share also some resources as well as some trade setups and of course some entertainment because I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. Are you not entertained? All right, so let's jump into some of the news and some of the charts and see if we can see what is going on. Well, first of all, in 2017, we saw 7 corrections of 30 to 40% each before all-time highs. In 2021, the price dropped 30 to 55% before all-time highs. This week, 11%, and you're already crying. It's big boy season. Pull your pants up. Okay, a bit of a savagery there from Kevin Svanson. Is it Svan? And also Caleb Franson. There are all these Bitcoin pullbacks from the last cycle, which were followed by higher highs, and you see there 18, 15, 21, 16, and so on, all within the span of 16 months. Buckle up, buttercup. All right, so the savagery continues there, and we haven't seen a correction of 30% or over. It's all been within the 20% range. So this is for a crypto cycle. If you're new, this is all fairly normal corrections. I know some of you are wondering though, but is it over? Is this an early end to the bull run? And that was one of the questions that I got asked. And you can see here the Bitcoin ETF saw the largest outflow ever in history. And I've got to admit, that is a tad concerning that we saw such a huge, but really it's just undoing the 636.9 3 days earlier. Isn't that incredible how market sentiment can really shift so heavily there? And so just very interesting to see that take place there. And you can see some of the data. However, it was interesting to note that BlackRock had 0 outflow yesterday. 0 outflows. So does BlackRock know something that we don't know? And do the BlackRock holders, are they getting communicated something that we don't know either? Just hold because higher prices are coming. It's very, very, very interesting there to note there with the BlackRock ETFs holding strong. And of course, it does come down a little bit to, wow, what did we see here? Over 1 billion of people dollars got wrecked. People going long. 906 million of liquidation who went long, and 143 million of those who went short. Those who have borrowed money and betting that the market would go up and it went down, they lost their money, and vice versa. Those who had betted that the market would go down, and it went up. Remember, it did go down, then it went up, and now it's gone down again. So that's how that played out. So let's have a look at the Bitcoin charts and see what we can think. And there has to remain a possibility. Is the bull run over? Let's address that question first. Now, my general feeling is no. I don't think the bull run is over at this point. This would definitely break the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle would be, in my opinion, broken. Okay, that's number one. And it would be hard to put any faith into the 4-year cycle. So I don't think it is. That's number one. Is it a little bit? So that's question number one. That's my answer on what my thoughts, my personal feelings of that. There are no guarantees, of course. Maybe the Bitcoin bull run is over, and we do have to consider that there is a percentage, albeit maybe a small percentage chance, that the Bitcoin bull run is over here. And that's something that should be considered, of course. But I always trade probabilities, and I think the probability that the Bitcoin bull cycle is being over is very, very low. Secondly, we have to consider, is it a little bit accelerated here? Remember, I've been talking for many weeks about the January the January drop. That there's a drop in January. Last cycle, it happened from about the weekend January, the week of January the 4th, we saw a 30% drop in Bitcoin. And the altcoins then at that point would, at some point in January, started to take over kind of in that later January time. Altcoins began to surge and run up to April. Then there was a huge drop correction. So there's a couple of things that could be in play. One, we could be slightly accelerated by 2 weeks, because really January the 4th is in about 2 weeks' time. And so are we a little bit accelerated in the cycle, and are we seeing the January drop a little early? That's number one. Number two, is this just a black swan event brought about by Jerome Powell and his irresponsible comments that he made that caused this dump? And remember, it's not just crypto. $1.5 trillion was wiped out of the stock market thanks to the Fed chair and his completely irresponsible comments. I believe that was made by him. I just don't think it was necessary. A week before Christmas really, really has hurt the American people and people globally as well. And so some of those comments that were made there, just in my opinion, were a little bit unnecessary. Okay, so those comments were made. That's done. You can't put them back in again. So that's quite possible. Is it just a little bit of a flush out black swan event, and then maybe we can push on for the final, what have we got left here? Maybe 10 or so days, 10 or 11 days, actually, just checking the date there, 20th of December, on to the end of December, and then we might see another pullback in January. Or are we seeing the April flush out? Are we seeing that, hey, we are this accelerated in the market that April 2021, where we saw a huge drop? I think that's the least likely of the scenario. I don't think we've seen a proper altcoin season for that to be happen. If that was happening, I think we would have seen a bigger altcoin season, a longer altcoin season. And I think just really from alts kind of began to take off. The stronger ones began to take off in mid to late September, and then we rallied through October. Remember, we had some significant dumps. We had the election week dump, of course, and Bitcoin has never in history gone below the week, the low of the election week. So that's something to take into account there. And of course, we had the Thanksgiving dump. We had a drop there as well, which was nearer the end of the month as well. But we haven't even taken out the December low from December 5th at this point. And so we are seeing this hold. This was an area, remember, that we saw hold up not too bad during all these little dumpy periods that we had, this 94K level here. And obviously, there is the 50-day moving average. Now, I have said on the show before that after a golden cross, Bitcoin will come back and retest the 50-day moving average. And we saw the golden cross. Where's that golden cross? Over here back in early November. And then Bitcoin took off parabolic. And so it's natural for it to come and retest the 50-day moving average. That's sitting at 91,784, around that level right now. Of course, this moving average has been moving up, just at the beginning of this month. that moving average was 79,585. Aren't you glad that it's moved up now? And so this could be an area that we could come and see retest. Well, in my opinion, this is going to be retested at some point in this bull run, in this bull cycle, and it looks like we're getting a little bit closer to it. But does it need to come and retest it now? We're sitting at 94,000 at the moment. We seem to have found a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of support, and so this is an area of real interest. The other area, the extreme one, is of course the 200 EMA on the daily, which has historically been a great time to buy Bitcoin in a bull run cycle when it's still a confirmed bull run. If it gets down to there, you've got to be asking the questions, are we still in a bull run? And of course, this is the one that we're looking for first. Now, if we lose this and it was to retest against the closes below that, then that would be a little bit concerning. Of course, we don't want to see Bitcoin come down to these levels, but of course it's possible. And let's see what kind of a drop that would give us from that 108. If we were to have, right now, we're currently round about a 12% correction. So that's quite small compared to some of the corrections we've had in this bull run cycle. We've usually, when there's been a decent correction, it's usually gone at least 20%. So let's go to the 20% line here, and that would actually take us deeper than the 50-day moving average. That takes us down to around $86,000 there. And there is a Lux Algo order block around that level. So that takes us around. So that would kind of been like, okay, this is one of those 20% corrections that we've already seen this cycle, and we've already seen a few of these already. And so that would be, if we are seeing this Bitcoin correction here, and it does come down to this wick of this candle, you see that there is a fair value gap here. So we might come to fill this fair value gap at 85. Now, I'm not wanting to freak anybody out. I'm just saying if we come down to that 21% correction level and we come down and fill that fair value gap and fill this wick down here and come down to here, that's where the price would be, 85,000. Of course, we have this $83,000 level here. Of course, that is at a Fibonacci level there. That would be a 23% drop as well if we were to go there. Now, a 30% drop, that would bring us down to, all the way down to this would bring us down to almost the 200 EMA on the daily if we were to see that kind of extremity, okay? So those are the kind of pullbacks and corrections that can happen and obviously altcoins would take an absolute beating. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin dominance, it is surging at the moment. We've clearly now smashed through the tribal trades trend line. We've smashed through the 50-day moving average. There is another trend line up here coming. So let's just stretch that out a little bit more around there. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see where we get there. But remember, in the last cycle, Bitcoin dominance didn't top out till December the 28th. Okay, so if we do get Bitcoin dominance has not topped out here and there is more room to go to the upside, then that would be history repeating, and that we are going to see some more downside for alts and some more bleeding out for altcoins there. Okay, so that's let's look at the liquidation heat maps here, and we'll definitely talk a little bit more about altcoins in the altcoin show coming up. So as we can see, as I said yesterday in the Discord, 94,000. The longs just can't help themselves. They just need to stop. Go for a walk on the beach. Stop opening up longs, and I think we'll see this correction for a lot sooner. But here, they came and got liquidated. We might see some short-term relief bounce to 96,000 here. That's a possibility. Let's go to the 24-hour there, and certainly if I was the market maker, I think 96,000 might be something I would look to come up and tag there. And then if we go up higher, we're at 99,645. So if we're looking for a little silver lining and a little ray of sunshine, maybe this 96 or 99 level can get tagged. But also remember, if we do come up and take this 96 level here, and there's that 99,000 level there for Bitcoin, if we do, that becomes a little bit of relief there It doesn't mean that the drop is over and that we may just start ranging between that 94,000 to 100,000 level there. And so also as well, just if we come up to 96,000, longs might end up opening up again, and that would mean more shorts would open up below as well. So I'm not going to take that as if we do get up to 96,000, I'm not going to go, okay, the dip is over, because as we're going to see, there is some more liquidity below. If we keep going down through the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. We're off to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And as you can see here, as we look through these liquidation ranges, there doesn't seem to be a lot below price. And we think, oh, okay, that's it. But if we actually zoom out a little bit more and we go to the 2-week chart, this is where I start to go to the 2-week chart, where I think there's deeper correction going on. Okay, let's go to the 1-month chart. And we have a look and we see, yeah, there is some liquidations down at 90,000, okay. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot down here, but 90,000. Let's really zoom out and go to the 3-month chart there. And you do start to see there down here at some of these levels here. And I'm not saying we're going to come down there, but 206 million at 90,000. And there is 133 million at 181. And there is 141 million at 73.74. And we could keep going there and there, because this is what I was saying to you. You can't use this as a standalone, because at some point the market makers leave liquidity behind that they can come back and get at a later time, and it just continues to build up and build up, of course. So even if we were to see a little bit of relief, and some might say that we could see a little bit of a dead cat bounce there. A dead cat bounce is where this is not what I brought. You can look it up online. Okay, a dead cat bounce. Look it up for yourself. This is a trading term that if a cat fell, that there would be a bounce and it would come back down again, kind of thing. That's how it works. I know it's not the best analogy in the world, but that's not my analogy there. So if we look here, we can see, obviously there is some levels up above. If I'm the market maker, I would look to probably at least come up and tag this 96. That would be at least. If the correction is over, by the way, and 94 was the lowest that will go, then obviously we're going to come up and tag this $98,000 level. So if the market maker, number one, and I'm not the market maker, but I always think if I was the market maker, what would I do? I'm coming up and grabbing this 96, and maybe I'm grabbing this 98. And then I would be looking at seeing if people are opening up longs and shorts and so forth. Remember, this is an ever-evolving chart, so the market makers are ever-evolving as well, and I only like to go one step at a time. And so my next step, I think, if I'm the market maker, is I'm taking out that 96,000, and then I would look at the market, reassess, and see what the next move that could be made. And there, of course, there is a lot of liquidity up there at 98,665, okay? And as we look up a little bit higher, there doesn't seem to be, apart from that, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot. There is, of course, a lot below, and this is why this correction may not be over. It may not be over. As we saw, the levels here, the 50-day moving average, that's what I'm keeping an eye on at 91,700. So if I was looking to add some to my Bitcoin, that would be an area or a level I would be watching to see if this holds, and maybe put in an order down here. But I certainly would be holding some dry powder. We do have this tribal trades trend line that we kind of forgot about. We need to stretch that out now, because that might come into play. That's going to come into play at around about that $88,000, $89,000 level there as well. And then, of course, we have the 200 EMA on the daily all the way down at 74. Let's look at the 4-hour chart very quickly, and we've actually broken through what was initially holding as support. The 200 EMA on the 4-hour was sitting at about 96. So now it wouldn't surprise me that I see that there. Market makers come up, grab that liquidity at 96. We either break through that level and push on, or if we get rejected there, it's quite possible that we come down to that 91,000 level and retest that 50-day moving average. All right, that's all I have time for on the show today. As always, until the next episode, happy trading.